Hi everyone! Today on my channel we're going to be making some homemade rolled out dumplings. It's actually Thanksgiving Day. You might not see this video for a day or two after. I may decide to upload it on Thanksgiving Day. But, oh, that's my coffee being rewarmed. I want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, and I hope it's a blessed one. I hope it's a fun one. I hope it's one filled with lots of love and joy and laughter. And I want you all to have a great day. But my side dish I'm taking to my sons is my homemade rolled out dumplings. So let's get right into this. So I already added off camera my chicken broth. Let me grab this coffee. And it took, it was the 3-pound boxes. My mom used to make the chicken broth for me. She would boil some chickens and bring me my broth the day before. She used to have a great big pressure cooker. It was like big around, like this big around, huge. And she would come and she would help me make those dumplings and help me roll them out. And she taught me how to make them. And so anyway, she used to make the homemade chicken broth, but I don't do that. So this is 4 or 5 boxes of the 3-pound chicken broth. So we're going to get that warmed up, and then we're going to move on to making our dough. The recipe I'm going to be using is for slickers. That's what we used to call them. My dad used to call them slickers. And they are made with flour, salt, oil, milk, and some eggs. And you just make the batter dough in here. And then I roll it out onto my roll pat, my sill pat. And I use a little plastic cutter just so it doesn't damage this. Sometimes I use it right straight on my countertop and it won't damage that. I think it's actually from a set of Play-Doh, like cookie cutters and things like that you would use with a Play-Doh set for kids. Of course, I've never ever used it for Play-Doh. But, so let's get into making our dough. Okay, so my chicken broth is steaming. It looks like it's gonna start boiling. So we're gonna get started on our dumplings. So the first thing to the bowl that we're going to add is our flour. And I'm going to do 5 cups of flour. Two, 3. You can see I'm not leveling them off, I'm just kind of shaking them. 4 and 5. Then to that we're going to add some salt. And the salt is going to be 2 teaspoons. 1 and 2. Just going to toss that around in there, kind of combine it. Again, I'm attached to a cord. I was going to walk over and get me a fork, but my knives are right here, so I'm just going to use a knife. Okay, so then we're going to just make a little well in the middle. And in the middle, we're going to be putting 1.5 cups of oil. We're going to also be adding some milk. The milk is going to also be 1.5 cups. We're going to dump that in the middle also. We're going to be mixing this by hand. Then we're going to be adding 6 eggs. And I'm going to go ahead and take my rings off because, like I said, I do this by hand. I'm going to get a quick hand wash in here. So I'm going to pause the video a second. Washed my hands. And then we're going to put our eggs in and start mixing. It's going to take 6 eggs. It's right at 32 degrees today here on Thanksgiving Day in Illinois. It's a good day to be cooking on my stove because the kitchen is heating up. I feel it. I always get nervous too. Makes me get a little warmer. I get nervous when I have to make these. I just want to do a good job, you know? Makes me nervous. I got to get that up off there because this is where I'm going to be rolling them out. Get these thrown away. Now comes the fun part. The mixing with our fingers. I'm going to check my broth here a second. And she's a boiling again. So I'm just going to start squeezing the egg yolks, getting those mashed up. If you want, you can incorporate all these wet ingredients in a side bowl, mix them, and then pour them into your pour them into your flour. I just do it this way. This is the way I was taught. This is the way my mom told me. And then just start incorporating the flour into it. My mom just would put her hand in there like this and just start stirring. She'd say, it'll get all in there. My grandma Hagen used to make slickers also. My dad used to tell me about that. He said Mom used to make the best slickers, he'd say. That's what he called them, slickers. I usually say dumplings, but when I was around my dad, I'd always say, making some slickers. He'd get excited. Get a big grin on his face. I could always make my dad grin if I told him I was making slickers or my homemade sugar cookies for Christmas. I gotta get that lid off there. My dad and my mom, I would always give them a big box of sugar cookies, decorated sugar cookies when I made them. And my dad would eat them for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, midnight snack. And my mom would go to get a cookie and she'd be like, there's no cookies left. I have to hide these from your dad. And so then she would start hiding them. And for like the last, I don't know how many years when they were living, she used to hide them from my dad. And he would say, we're out of cookies, Deb. And I was like, no way. How many did you get? I was like, Mom's hiding those on you. So I'd have to come down one day when she was gone to the hairdresser or something. We'd scour the kitchen, scour all the cabinets. She'd have them in a cabinet. Or she'd had stuck them in the oven, with it off, of course. Or you'd find them in the deep freeze. She had to find a different hiding spot. And when they are in the deep freeze, it is a good way to keep them because they just thaw out really fast. Like you can sit them out on the counter and they'll be thawed out within probably 15 minutes or so. Now this is a little sticky. So I see it's a little sticky, so I'm going to add some more flour. This is not a neat process, trust me. You just get as much off of your fingers as you can. And this bag's about empty, so I'm gonna use it. Work a little more dough into it, and you will work more flour into it. I mean, you will work more flour into your dough when you lay it out to roll it too. So you don't want to overmix them. You'll get a tough dumpling. So I think I'm about where I want to be on them. It's sticky, but I think I can make it work. Let's see what we can do here. I'm going to wash my hands. Okay, so I've got my surface floured here a little bit. I'm going to take a hunk out, put a little bit of flour on the top. And roll them out. Got this marble rolling pin. I don't know if I've ever told you that before. When we got married. So it's over 40 years old. And you sure don't have to press much to get it to roll what you want rolled out. And you just roll them out. I try to roll them out as thin as I can. And then I just cut them. They're not perfect. They're not the same shape, and that's okay. That's how everyone knows they're homemade when they get one. One year, I was struggling a little bit with emotions, I'll just say it that way, around Thanksgiving time, and I just didn't have my heart in it, and I was like, I'm not making the homemade rolled out dumplings. I'm not doing it. I don't have that energy. I don't have the drive. I don't want to do it. So I bought some, I forget what they were called. They were called kettle dumplings. They're in a little plastic tray. I bought those. I put them in the pot, and I thought, oh my gosh, everybody's going to know these are so perfectly cut. Like every one of them was exactly the same. And no one ever said anything. They said, oh, dumplings are good. I think they kind of knew that year because they knew I was struggling that year anyway. So I don't think anybody was going to say, you didn't make these, and make me feel bad. That's what a family does. They support you, right? Very supportive. Okay, so let's move you over here to the chicken broth that is boiling. It's not boiling a lot. I'm going to turn it up just a touch, get it going a little bit more, because once you start dropping these in, it'll bring the temperature down and the boiling will subside a little bit. And these don't have to cook very long, maybe like 20 minutes. So I'm just going to add them in gradually so I don't stop my boiling. And also, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing over here, but my mom used to do this, like if you had any little bit of flour, and that just kind of helped make the thickness of the broth thickens up. So it's kind of like a, you got dumplings and some gooey broth. Like I said, this is a process. It takes some time. When I was making a big pressure cooker pot full of them, I would stand in front of my stove. I would probably stand there and do this for probably at least 3 hours. So I learned to put on some shoes or stand on a fatigue mat or something like that, because it starts to wear on my back. And if I see some of these are a little too thick when I'm picking them up, if I feel them, I'll just pat them out over here, thin them out a little bit, The best part about a slicker is the thinness of it. Don't go too thick. It will never ever hurt to be too thin. Never. But too thick, it makes for a tasting of a doughy slicker. So I'm going to continue on with this. You see my pot starting to not boil. When it happens like that, you need to put the lid back on, let it bring it back up. You just want to keep adding them until they're boiling. So when they first get in there, they get a good chance of getting that cooking started. So I'm going to finish this one, and then I still have dough. I'm going to roll out another batch, stick them in, and I'll bring you back. Okay, we're continuing to put them in. When it gets to about this amount, then we have to kind of make a little hole. My mom always said, "Who's my hole maker?" when she used to do it, and I used to help her. So she would say, "Make me a hole, make me a hole." She didn't want them to lay on top. So I'd try to make her a hole, and she'd put it in. Doesn't always work, but I understood the concept. You don't want them to lay on top. And you can put your wooden spoon all the way down onto the bottom of the pan and drag it across. And you're not trying to stir the dumplings. You don't want to make them tough, but you want to make sure they're not sticking. And that, just pushing through there like that, will tell you the amount of space left in your broth. And you don't want to overfill your broth, because then you won't have any gooey like gravy with it. So I'm going to continue to put these in. This is the last of the bowl of dough I made. I'm going to probably make another half bowl of dough. I think I can fit another half a batch in there. So let me do that, and I'll check back with you. Okay, this is my last batch. See over here? That's my last of the second batch. So let's get these in, and then we'll cook them for about 20 minutes, 15 minutes more, and they will be done. Got my grand dog here with me, if you hear her in the background whining. She's like, "Nobody's offering me anything to eat." So let's get these in. That's a big one. Towards the end, after standing here so long, I just start tossing them in, because it's a process. I like doing it for my family, but I hope they really know how much effort this takes, standing here like this. That's okay. I love all my family. Love them, love them, love them. I hope they feel the same about me. Now I feel a little stickiness, just a touch on the bottom. And that's going to be from your flour. Some of your flour sifting down throughout there and going on the bottom. But see how that's thickening up? That's going to be good. I just got a couple more I got to roll out here, and we are rocking and rolling. Some of it was just a touch too thick, so I wanted to re-roll it a little bit more. Okay. Boy, those got really thin. And of course, the thinner they are, the less time they take to cook, right? And we're down to our last two. Here we go. Boom, boom. Get those underneath the broth. Give them a little stir. I'm gonna feel the bottom. feeling good. I'm gonna turn it down just a touch. And we got about 15 minutes and those babies will be ready to eat. Okay, I'm gonna go wash these hands, try to clean up my mess, and we'll be back. Alrighty, let's get us a taste. I'm just getting a taste. So like, just a couple. Let me show you inside the pot, because it made like the gravy like, oh, they're gonna be so good. Okay, I actually have like 1 or 2 dumplings because I have to wait. So I'm gonna give them a taste. That one was good. That one was a little bit thicker. Yes, ma'am. Oh, yes, ma'am. Those are good. The thinner one is just a little bit better. The thicker one isn't too thick or anything, but like I said, roll them as thin as you can. Delicious. Can't wait till I have some mashed potatoes to put some of that gooey sauce in, and great, and some turkey and green bean casserole and sweet potatoes and all the fixins. So again, happy Thanksgiving. Have a wonderful holiday. Take care of yourself and take care of each other. Bye.